Hey guys, it's Book of Catherine. I hope you're doing well. So I just wanted to catch you guys up a little bit because it's been about 6 months since I've talked to you. So I wanted to tell you guys what's been going on Twitter because we've been doing a whole lot of things on Twitter. And since we just did some huge breakthroughs, as we're always doing every week, but I wanted to tell you some of the big breakthroughs. For example, if you clock it, when I did that little crazy thing that it seemed like I was doing about Babylon and saying, my boys in Iraq, I'm worried about the Babylon, the land of Shinar, and it just seems really weird because COVID just broke out. So I feel like I should say something. Yeah, if you check the date on that, exactly 6 months and 2 days later, Lebanon blew. And if you look at the land of Babylon, like when it began way back 3000 BC, it goes straight through Lebanon. It connects those two seas right there, Babylon, straight up to Lebanon. And I didn't know that at the time, but thankfully people did and they cleared out. And so that happened. And then we learned things about the moon, things like there's just been a lot going on. So anyway, I wanted to catch you up on the latest thing that we found. So my big thing about research is go where the deletions are, right? Like I'm always like, if it's censored, we should probably read it, right? So that's how we found out about the Nazis. We found out, for example, that the Vatican Bank, that's where all the money went. Like when the Nazis went through, all the money kind of filtered up to the Vatican Bank. Everyone exposed their banking records. All the countries went ahead and let everyone see their banking records from the Nazi histories, not the Vatican. The Vatican didn't show it. They caught all these kids. They would go ahead and hide in the churches. The Catholic priests were the only people in 1933. They signed a pact with the Catholic Church that the priests would be the only people that had restored rights. So Catholic Church never lost their rights. They kept their rights while the rest of the people, all of them in Germany, lost their rights, while the clergy were the only people who never lost their rights. It's very interesting looking into the Catholic Church. You kind of wonder if it was really Germany taking over or if it was Rome, since Rome was the one who profited by it, or I should say Italy. Italy was the one that profited by it monetarily and law. Like, it's very, very interesting what happened with that. So anyway, here's my big, big announcement. So my big, big announcement is that we have been looking into the deleted things of the Bible because the histories are just incredible. And we discovered the Book of Enoch. Now, I just learned the Book of Enoch was in the canon until the 1500s. And the 1500s is when all these things disappeared from the books, right? All these things like dragons disappeared from the books, serpents disappeared. All these things suddenly became, instead of becoming real in our histories, everyone suddenly said they're myth. If you look into it, the 1500s is when all of a sudden it became myth. And that's actually exactly when the Book of Enoch says all of those things are real. So what I wanted to talk to you about, it's not just the Book of Enoch they cut out. They cut out like 70 books. 70 books in the canon, and the Jews did it too, like in because Book of Enoch is in the Old Testament or the Hebrew Bible. And when the Dead Sea Scrolls came out in the Qumran in 1948, it turns out the Book of Enoch was one of the most protected. 11 texts, 11 copies of the Book of Enoch was in that thing. And it's amazing because all the blocks are like, oh, there wasn't anything in the Book of Enoch. No, 11 copies of the Book of Enoch. They say the Isaiah scroll was so amazing. No, 11 copies of the Book of Enoch. It was one of the most protected texts in there. And what do we learn in the Book of Enoch? Well, number one, we learn how demons are born, demons are made. But the biggest thing that we learn about is what we call fallen angels. No, are immortals. They're just immortals. And don't we have a lot of literature about immortals? And immortals are in love with human women. And they don't like men very much. In fact, they abuse men quite a bit. But they praise human women quite a bit. And yet they rape women. They see them as oxen. They see humans as oxen. Which is interesting because we've had a lot of literature out about immortals who see humans as oxen and slaves. That's almost been all of our fantasy literature is about immortals who see humanity. I mean, I even watch the robot things and they always talk about humans as nothing but cattle, slow beings who are nothing but cattle. Robots will be immortal. Like robots is another form of human. And then, of course, there's a ton of fantasy about women who are in love with these things, but the men just get screwed over by them. And that's very, very interesting. Enoch is all about that. And what's very interesting, everybody, is that it says in the end times, it will be as in the days of Noah. Well, as in the days of Noah, days of Noah, what happened right before the flood is that God commanded that there be a civil war between all of the sons of the immortals. Well, the sons of the mortals were the Nephilim, like the little gods on earth or whatever. Gosh, that sounds a lot like the Greeks. You know, Clash of the Titans. In fact, if you look at the statues of the Greeks versus the statues of portrayals of the immortals, of the fallen angels, like Samyaza going ahead and screwing one of the, not screwing, raping one of the women of humanity. It's very interesting because it looks just like Zeus raping one of the women of humanity. In fact, Hindu, Sumerian, Egyptian, gosh darn, all of the texts talk about a great flood. And, well, now they say aliens. They actually list it. They all have depictions of these immortals. They all have depictions of immortals, and they all have depictions of the immortals screwing over the human woman and raping them. And then they all say the human women fall in love with their rapists and bow down in servitude. And they all say they just bow over, and then there's a big flood. They all say it. And then what do the news museums all listed on their blogs? They interchange the words giants with immortals with amazingly aliens. So now I have to sit there and watch 70 Day Fiancé or 90 Day Fiancé and watch two people in Russia, one guy here from America who's like, I believe aliens existed that made the pyramids, and a girl say, well, I believe in God. And I'm like, they're talking about the same freaking thing because no one's talking about the fact that the Book of Enoch existed and we should really read our censored texts. All right, that's all I had to say. Love you guys. That, Christianity, Hebrew, Judaism, and Greek mythology, it's all the same thing, and that it's supposedly real, and the things that are out there, these things that are out there, all these, I'm sorry, but the pyramids are out there, and I've been looking into the megaliths, like I pointed it out on Twitter, the megaliths that are out there. You explain to me how the megaliths exist. You explain, there are 46,000 megaliths on Earth, megalithic structures, and no one wants to talk about why they exist. These megalithic structures, right? No one wants to talk about how the pyramids were created. There's no way humans drag those stones up. Have you seen the stones? They're like double the height of a human. It's impossible for any human to drag it. No, that's why you don't see many people show you pictures of humans next to the pyramids. It's laughable, and yet the pyramids are right at the pinpoint center of the Earth, where the Earth is thickest, at the greatest mass, within 1/16 of an inch. Oh yeah, they had that technology 3,600 years before, Christ landed on Earth. And why did all those ancient civilizations fall within 300 years of Christ landing here? Why did they all turn to Christianity? You want to talk about that? About why they hid all the names? Why is it that all of a sudden, that's the one thing I want to talk about. Like, one last thing, sorry. The one thing when I've been looking through all these texts that they've deleted, because I've been like, why do they delete this text? Why do they delete this text? Why the Book of Jubilees? Why the Book of Jasher? Why the Book of Enoch? Why this? And then they delete some books like the books of Pilate, like the letters of Pilate. They deleted the letters of Pilate. Why the letters of Pilate? Why this book? Letters of Pilate, I feel like, is the best thing that anyone... The letters of Pilate have enlightened the years of Christ on earth better than anything, better than the Gospels in a lot of ways. The Gospels, I don't even read them except for Matthew and John, and pretty much John is all I lean on by now. I'm just like, the rest of it, I don't know how much I can lean on. And that's because John's the only one written in Hebrew that we can find. I think maybe Matthew's in Hebrew. But the other two weren't even there. The other two weren't even there they were after. So I'm like, nope. Anyway, so it's just very interesting to me what's been deleted. And finally, I found out the common denominator. The common denominator between everything that's been removed since the 1500s is that they all have the names of... Everything that's been removed contains a name of an angel, of one of the immortals that decided to go against God. How did they decide to go against God? Instead of protecting those on earth, they went ahead and broke their covenant with God, which was their job, and they started mating with humans, which was outside of their purview. They're supposed to protect humans, not sleep with them. They weren't supposed to marry anyone. They were mortal. Only mortals are supposed to marry or something like that. So anyway, you guys can look into it. But yeah, so they are not, there's just this whole long thing. They're not fallen angels. People say they're fallen angels because they were watchers. They lived in the heavens, and some of them are bound in the heavens. That's why there are constellations up there and all these things. And just for the record, since people don't understand this, Azazel wasn't one of the 200 bound at Mount Hermon. Oh, and I'll end with that. You know that little Lebanon blast? That Lebanon blast happened right next to Mount Hermon. And that Lebanon blast, by the way, went 600 miles wide, right through Babylon, and end of Mount Shinar, covered the entire area of land of Shinar. So I'm running out of room. Love you guys so much. Mwah! Miss you. I'm on Twitter every day. All right, see ya. Bye.